Last time we spoke, we talked about DUIs and how during the holidays, DUIs are more prevalent. And we talked about what happens during a DUI stop from the officer's point of view. But now I want to talk to you about what you should do in that situation. So we talked about getting pulled over for any type of infraction that you may have. We talked about how the police officers are looking to see how quickly and easily you find your documentation. So the first thing you can do to prepare so that an officer is not confused and think you may be DUI when really you're just nervous is, number one, always know where your license, registration, and insurance are in your car or in your wallet. So it's easy to find when you get pulled over. Because a lot of times what happens is you may have had dinner with family or friends, and you may have had a glass of wine or a beer, and you're not impaired, but you're nervous because you know you had that glass of wine or that beer, and you know the officer is probably going to smell it on your breath. So that combined with being nervous may make you fumble and may make it appear to the officer that you may be impaired. So make sure you know where your license, registration, and insurance are at all times. Second, be mindful of your actions and mindful of what you say. Speak clearly, take a deep breath, try to make sure you listen to the officer carefully and follow the officer's instructions. Again, this way there will not be any confusion as to whether you're just nervous versus being under the influence. The next thing you should do is, most of us have been pulled over, and we know that when we get pulled over, most of the time, most police officers don't ask us out of the vehicle. But if you get to the point where the officer is asking you to get out of the vehicle, it's because they want to see if you can balance and walk. And they want to see if you can do the roadside exercises. So if you get to that point and you don't feel comfortable doing it, and this happens with a lot of my clients, because they're nervous, because they're on the side of the road and cars are passing by. It may be cold out because this time of year gets a little colder. Maybe you're dressed for a party, not dressed for being outside. It may be because you have high heels on if you're a young lady. There's a lot of different reasons why you may not feel comfortable doing exercises. You may have some type of a lower extremity injury. You may have plantar fasciitis. You may have scoliosis. You may have knee problems. You may have ankle problems. Whatever it may be, you do not have to do the roadsides. They're not required by law. Many police officers will tell you they're required by law. They're wrong. That's incorrect. They're not required by law. But if you do not do them, you will most likely go to jail. And the police officers will usually explain this to you. So that's why I said, if you get to the point where police officers are asking you to do roadsides, if you do them, they're gonna say you did them wrong. If you don't do them, you're gonna go to jail because the officer is gonna tell you that based on what they've seen up to that point, they think you're impaired and you're going to jail for the night. And as you're taken to the jail, they stop you for a breath test. And this is a question I get all the time. Do I blow or don't I blow? A lawyer will never tell you not to blow because you don't have the right to refuse. It's not a right. Driving is a privilege, and there's a limitation on that privilege that says if you're required to take a breath test or any test required by law, which a breath test is required by law, failure to do so will lead to a license suspension. So if you refuse that breath test, you are limiting the evidence that the police officers are going to have against you and the state attorneys are going to have against you in court, but you're also subjecting yourself to a license suspension for not blowing. So evidentiarily, does it help your case to limit evidence? Yes, of course it does. But there are repercussions. So I'm not saying don't blow because you've already implied that you consented to it by driving. I'm just explaining the ramifications of each action to you. If you blow over the limit, you're going to jail. If you blow under the limit, you're going to jail. So it doesn't make any difference. But if you blow under the limit, it does help your attorney win your case. If you refuse, it helps your attorney win your case because there's less evidence. But if you do blow over, it makes it that much harder for your attorney to win that case. And then after that, you'll be asked some questions if you want to answer post Miranda, which you should never answer questions of any police officer without an attorney present. And then you spend the night in jail. And then you call me because I'll get you out of that jam. And that's really what it comes down to, at least the basics. Obviously, if you need more information, if you have been arrested for DUI, give me a call. My first consultation is free, and I can explain step by step the process of getting your license back, keeping you out of jail, and getting your life back on track, and making this situation not something that ruins your life, but just hopefully just a blip on the radar, and you can get beyond it and past it and never deal with it again. Thank you.